I'm glad to be with you today, good people, and welcome to the program. People around the world have described corruption using different words and expressions and depicting a high sense of moral decay. Very common in Cameroon, we say it is a cankerworm, a scourge, or a hydra. But as many of these very destructive organisms and phenomena, corruption can be mitigated, why then does it persist? That is the question. Keen observers and critics say corruption has become systemic in Cameroon, thereby disabling the various efforts and instruments put in place to combat it. Today on Press R, we shall attempt to answer three questions. One, are the minds of Cameroonians being formatted to accept corruption as a way of life? God forbid. That will be unfortunate. The second question we'll attempt an answer to is, are the anti-corruption institutions and instruments inappropriate or powerless? That's the second question. We should also look at, can draconian sanctions control corruption in the country? I am Kilian Ndandifone Yaoundé, and you are watching Press R on CRTV. Ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome. If you are just tuning in, this is Press R, and we are broadcasting live from Studio 4 in the CRTV Production Center in Balatu here in Yaoundé, and to talk about this very, very useful, important topic that can cripple, that it is even crippling our efforts in our development efforts, is corruption problem. Is it a mindset or inappropriate sanctions are meted out that they continues to exist in our society? And we have the various people who can give you just what you need, beginning with Mr. Atom Afret, who is a strategist. He's in charge of the national strategy for the fight against corruption in Cameroon in the National Anti-Corruption Commission, CONAC. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you, Kilian, for inviting CONAC.
Yes, sir. We always invite CONAC because we trust CONAC to make sure that this cankerworm that is eating deep into the fabric of our society and crippling our development efforts is combated. I hope you're going to tell us what you are doing and that it is enough. Just next to you is our own Patrick Moa, who is desk editor in the Guardian Post newspaper. Patrick, you're welcome once again.
Thank you very much, Kilian. You permit me. I have a very bad voice. All along the week, I've been suffering from cold and some light cough.
Yes,
but
you're welcome,
I hope that I'll be able to sustain the debate.
Yes, you will. And then we're going to tell our technical team to make sure that they work on that using our microphone.
That's fine.
You can be sure your voice will be fine. Our own Fombat Mujem, who is a barrister at law, who knows everything when it comes to the law on corruption and the law on so many other things. Barrister, thank you for coming.
Thank you, Kilian. Thank you for inviting me. Greetings to our televiewers and happy Teachers in Arrears to all our teachers. And we all know that there's corruption very visible in the school milieu also.
That, according to the National Anti-Corruption Commission, the official of that body is here. He's going to tell us why the education sector is leading the chart. Thank you very much, Barrister, for coming. Thank you equally for coming, Paul and Chang. You are a political analyst, and your comments, your interventions are always in depth. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Kilian, for having me on Press Hour. Thank you to CRTV for having me. Welcome as well to other co-panelists as well. Just to piggyback up from Barrister, I would like to extend also my congratulations. Happy Teachers Day. I come from a family of teachers, and I think most of us do. And so it's very important that on such platforms, their work be actually recognized with their resilience that we see all over the world. It's true that they might not per se get the terms of payment that they actually want, but we live in a a capitalistic world, but their resilience and their teachings are what create our leaders for tomorrow. So especially for those in the Northwest and Southwest, please keep teaching and teach our children well.
Thank you very much. That will be our talking point. But before we get to that, we have press review. Press review is done for us by Emanuela Vemnui. Manuela, tell us what the newspaper said on the week that just ended.
Politics got the better of newspapers the week ending. Akeremana is declared opposition single candidate for 2025 presidential race in The Voice. An endorsement from opposition political parties also reported by The Horizon. To the Sun newspaper, it is opposition unity in the air, one that rattles Biya's regime in The Guardian Post, as the paper equally presents winners and losers should be acquit power. Before UPC is reportedly divided over Biya and Akeremana candidatures in the lone English daily The Guardian Post. Happening at a time the gains and challenges of major national dialogue are evaluated in The Guardian Post 5 years on. Municipal updates headlines national dialogue at 5, walking the talk. Cameroon Insider thinks it is been 5 years of mixed fortunes. The Voice evaluates impact on the scales before the successes and challenges of this dialogue are presented in The Horizon. Municipal Updates on its part seals the story by paying tribute to major national actors gone forever. Suspected pirates then kidnapped Idabato divisional officer and one other person in the Bakassi Peninsula in The Guardian Post. And surge intensifies for the kidnapped Dio in Cameroon Insider. Rescue operations which are also continuing in Cameroon Tribune. At the time, Fonju Wilson of Cushing in Womb is credited for having rallied funds of the Northwest to curse Ayabacho for his atrocities in the English-speaking regions of the country. In the Herald Tribune, The Horizon shares the same opinion that Ayabacho's fall is linked to collective curse from Northwest funds, but prisoners of conscience condemn Ayabacho's arrest and demand peaceful resolution of the conflict in The Voice newspaper. Cameroon's corruption crisis then claims 114 billion CFA francs in 2023 in the Post newspaper. A cankerworm said to be eating even deeper in Cameroon Insider. PCC is reported in turmoil in the Messenger as the Post quotes Neko Hale. My heart bleeds as PCC is on fire. The Voice indicates that key members of the PCC upcoming elections want the moderator to overhaul the electoral process. But the Guardian Post presents some likely candidates with an upper hand in the elections. 3 kids from the same family are reported dead in Boya after consuming noodles in the Dawn newspaper. 3 children, the Post says, died of suspected food poisoning. CRTV then loses journalist Asen Gottfried that is equally mourned alongside Professor Daniel Abua, iconic historian in Municipal Updates. Until I come your way again, this is your Hour with the Press.
Thank you very much, Emanuela Vemnui. Happy Teachers' Day to all the teachers. I know I have worked with all teachers. We are talking particularly about professional teachers. If not, everyone is a teacher in one way or the other. And I want to especially say Happy Teachers' Day to 2 people with whom I sit every evening. That's Adiang Fred and Azanui Calvin. I am with them. They are my neighbors. And by extension, please, if I didn't call your name, I respect and I pay tribute to you as a teacher. Patrick,
yes, of
teachers.
Course. Yes, we were using this opportunity to extend Happy Teachers' Day to all the teachers, especially those who are actually in the sector out of admiration for the sector, not because they're in search of money. We know the sector too has become really very corrupt because maybe those who find themselves there are just out for money, not necessarily because out of calling. It's, the teaching profession, just like other professions, if you dabble into it with the calling, you're going to serve better than compared to when you just get into the sector just because maybe you were job seeking, looking for a job. So we're using this opportunity to extend Happy Teachers Day to all the teachers and to say that even if they're not getting a commensurate compensation for the job they do, I think the public, we are appreciative of what they do.
Yes.
I think that is the best compensation that they can get.
There's none of us who never passed through the hands of a teacher. Barrister.
Yes, I think nobody can say it didn't go through the hands of a teacher. And we all agree that the truth is that teachers are not well paid. Maybe that is why corruption is embedded in the school milieu. But we want to tell the teachers that do your work well and leave the rest to God. We appreciate the work we are doing. We understand the pain you are going through. But what is more important is the outcome, the results, or the satisfaction, the fact that you are bringing people up. Because the richest person in the world today passed through a teacher. Our head of state passed through a teacher. So we say kudos to all teachers.
Barrister, I cannot let you go away with that. When you say teachers are not well paid, those who are working for the public service, when you look at their pay package and look at the pay package of all the other public functionaries, do you think theirs is less, or what do you mean by they are not well paid?
Well, I think the bitter truth is that the teaching milieu is one of the areas where I want to think that teachers are forced to depend only on their salaries. And when they have to depend only on their salaries, and we know very well that these salary scales in Cameroon are abysmally low, we can understand. We see them, money doesn't hide. When you see the teachers, you know that they are not well paid or that they don't live up to expectation.
I will not comment on that. Yes, Paul.
Happy Teachers Day once again. I think it's the resilience of the teachers that I think I would like to commend here, because I think all over the world, teachers have historically not really been paid that well. Be the fact that they actually contribute to transfer of knowledge to those who become successful per se in this world, because we live in a capitalistic world. So even when we were younger, we knew that those who were teachers or their children never really had that much. But if you ask yourself, what did the children of teachers become, then that's a different question. So I think from a political standpoint, if you have to look at for Cameroon in itself, I think the Minister of Basic Education and the Minister of Higher Education, I think measures are being put in place. Are they being put in place as quickly, as rapidly as many would like to see them? I think perhaps not. But I also think that there's a difference between the public sector and the private sector. I think that for teachers who come from the private sector, if they could organize themselves better in the syndicate, where they will be able to approach the government, that way they will be able to vindicate certain privileges that they would want, because they are not categorized, as you would say, which means that the proprietors of schools can actually pay them as they wish. So now I think there's a lot of work with the Ministry of Labor, social insurance that needs to be done, but the teachers themselves have to organize themselves in a syndicate where they can approach the government. If not, their rights, or in terms of labor and their needs, might not be prioritized in a way that it's supposed to be recognized for them to benefit.
Thank you very much. I think that is a sector, that is a subsector that needs more attention than the public sector. Probably, yes, as Barrister said, generally speaking, but teachers from government, they have a regular salary. Their situation has been reviewed, and I should just let you see what government has done. It was captured by the Minister of Basic Education during activities marking the celebration of Teachers' Day this way. Professor Laurent Serge Etundingwa was speaking to CRTV after the celebration that was on the 5th of October yesterday.
All the teachers in the world have problems, and our specific problems in Cameroon has been highlighted by syndicates, teachers themselves, and so on and so forth. And the president took measures to solve the problem 3 years ago. And every month we are solving the problems. And if they are less talkative now, it is because problems are solved. We have not solved all the problem today, but the majority of problem has been solved. We are going on solving the amount left, and we think that if everybody is conscious of what he has to do, and conscious that you cannot be happy at every place in the country. Those who are in Douala, Yaoundé, are happy enough to be there. But somebody who is coming in a village of National cannot be as glad as those who are here. So we are hope that everything will be set in the coming weeks. And I can say Happy Teachers' Day to all of them.
Yes, the minister himself appreciates, he accepts that there are problems. He admits that there are problems, but he says the problems are being handled. And I know so much is being done in basic education, secondary education with so much, many reforms, some of them really daring in secondary education, in higher education as well, and in other areas of education in the country. Now, we're going to get into our topic, our debate today, and we are going to start with the official from the National Anti-Corruption Commission, CONAC, queuing up from the Teachers' Day that goes into education. You're going to tell us, you confirm that education tops the chart of the sectors that are leading corruption in Cameroon. How will you explain that, sir?
Well, Kilian, let me first say a happy Teachers' Day to those who impart knowledge in us. CONAC expects from them not only imparting knowledge, but also imparting moral values like honesty, hard work, and others. Well, you say teachers.
Education, yes.
Yeah, the education sector is topping the charts. Well, the whole situation in Cameroon is that our salaries will never be satisfied to us. We're not satisfied with our salaries. And I often say that if somebody is not satisfied with a salary of 200,000 per month, they would never be satisfied with a salary of 2 million. There are problems everywhere. But the specific situation here is that in the education sector, you have parents who are corrupt. You have students. You have teachers. Because most of them have put aside hard work. They just want to have good results as earlier as possible. We think in CONAC that those who have decided to impart knowledge on our citizens, teachers, they have a specific role and we expect specific things from them. The salary is not, all of us have very poor salaries, but the salary is not an indicative of, it's not a reason why we should be corrupt. Because if you go to journalists also complain. You go to other sectors like medical doctors or nurses, they also complain, you see. So it's not a specific issue only on teachers. Well, if you are not honest with a salary of, you're not satisfied with a salary of 200, you will not be satisfied with a salary of 2 million.
That is well said.
Having a poor take-home
is not a justification.
Yes, not a justification.
Now you are the leading, I should say, national body to fight corruption. Others are there, yes, but CONAC does so much openly more than the others. Mm-hmm. You see this, it has been recurrent. We have non-magistrates, that's the judiciary, so to say. We've also it's official, the police. Is that the order in your classification?
Yes.
Now, you have been seeing this. They are the same groups coming up. Mm-hmm. Are you just seeing and talking about it as you're talking about it now, and that's all what you have to do, and say let them continue? Or what is CONAC actually doing to avert this type of moral decay in our society?
Yes, we are working with the education community. We have developed what we call education to integrity curricula from nursery schools to university, because we are now in the stage where these curricula have to be adopted by the different forms and orders of teaching. I say from nursery school to universities. We think we cannot impose those values, but we are making teachers know, because some of them have lost the importance of their role. Some of them are instead, let's say, looking for money, salary, instead of the specific role of imparting knowledge.
You
and
said
values.
that already.
Yes.
Our question continues to be this. You, in particular, are in charge of the strategy to fight corruption, the national strategy to fight corruption. Since it's persisting, the results are showing that things are even getting worse. Is your strategy not failing?
I don't think so. You know, corruption has eaten deep in our society. So
you should come up with a strategy that fights that corruption that is deep.
Yeah, this is why I said we have developed curricula. You see, as I said, let me repeat myself, from primary schools to universities. The aim of this curricula is to impart on our children those moral values that I have cited. We are not folding our arms. We are working with the education community.
Not only with education,
yeah,
we are now talking globally.
When I say education community, no, we are talking here on let's say on teachers, education community. When I say education community, it means parents, students themselves,
the school administration, teachers, and
yes,
all of them.
Yes.
Okay, but the worrying thing is you are justifying our topic that mindset. You are helping Cameroonians to know that, okay, corruption is normal, because CONAC will come and then take notes, go back and sit, and then we can continue with the corruption.
Well,
Where is your whip?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This is not what I'm saying. Let me be clear. CONAC is not a court, neither an administrative nor a judicial court. You see. So what we are doing is working on the mindsets of everybody. I'm sorry, we don't have a whip. We don't have a whip.
So you are powerless?
No, we are not powerless. Let's say our powers in the mindset, not the judicial powers. No. We are not courts. We are neither an administrative court nor a judicial court.
But what we know, yes, we are going to move. We are going to move to him. Just the last question. Just the last question.
What we are doing.
Just the last question to you. You report to the hierarchy. Can we say that your reports do not carry what should have pushed him to do something? Because if you told him that no, this thing is very serious,
well, I invite
he would have done something.
Yes, I invite
different.
you to read our reports. Whenever we find a situation, we propose solutions. We have been doing that.
Okay, Patrick, you were very impatient.
Yeah. No, not necessarily impatient. I think we're on a debate platform. It's not a one-on-one.
Yes.
Otherwise, you would have just invited the representative of CONAC to come and give their annual balance sheet. I think it's quite exciting that the person in charge of the strategy to fight corruption in Cameroon is actually here. But I'm sorry to say that the strategy that CONAC has put in place has failed woefully. It has failed woefully because all along CONAC has been using the bottom-top approach. It is not working, and it will never work. The only approach that can work in fighting corruption, because there's nothing bad in copying a good example. If you move around the world, corruption is fought through the top-bottom approach, not the bottom-top approach. CONAC depends on negotiations. The ordinary man should write to CONAC or call CONAC through their toll-free number, or they can drop it later, this and that. No. If we tackle corruption from that angle, we will never get the result. But if we use the top-bottom approach, which means it starts from on top there, we cannot have a law in this country in the first place, CONAC would have just been a police to ensure that aspects of the Constitution are put in place. I'm talking about the Article 66 of the Constitution.
Don't make confusion.
I'm not making confusion, sir. When we're talking, I think we're all calm.
Okay.
You did not come here to give us lessons. We have our own opinion too. If you use the top-bottom approach, for example, what is stopping this regime, the BR regime, from implementing the Article 66 of our Constitution, which talks about declaration of asset? If public authorities declare their assets upon the time they are getting into office, it becomes very easy for us to. Why is even the salaries of certain public officials, even the head of state, why is his salary a mystery to this country? How can you check corruption if you don't know? If, for example, I have a child at home, I know that the daily allowance I give this child is 200 francs, and I see that child buying telephone in my house, I will know exactly that that child has certainly gotten money from elsewhere. But if I have no idea of that child's daily upkeep, for example, his financial situation, there will be no way that I can check on that child's expenses and all of that.
Very good.
So
you made a very good point.
Let me just drive to the
No, you continue. This is something which I have said time and again, that if you are talking about public declaration of assets, that is a different thing. If you are talking about not declaring assets at all, there is a problem. Because people actually declare assets.
Where do they declare?
That's why.
Who has declared?
Barrister may come in.
No, who has declared? You are talking about, that's illusion. You are
Does
talking
the
about
law, that law, does
the
it say
law
that
has not been implemented since 1996. Barrister is here. Why are you trying to mislead us? We are talking about those who occupy public offices. Why is CONAC? Why CONAC, for example, which is an advisory body to the president of this republic in fighting corruption, why have they not mounted pressure on the powers that be that we begin first with the implementation of that particular article which tackles corruption from its roots? That is to say, the day somebody gets into office, a note is taken, and the day the person comes out, there's an assessment, and we know whether by the time this person is leaving office, he or she has dipped his or her hand in the public purse. It becomes very easy. That is one aspect that I was just like.
And that aspect, I'm still underlining public declaration and declaration per se. If you read that law,
no, you are just.
Let's challenge ourselves.
You are not convincing me. You are not convincing me. You are trying to confuse me. I am insisting on that aspect which has not been implemented since 1996.
We are talking about a law, and then there is a barrister. There's a man of law here.
The CONAC report just.
I will just come out. I will come back after that.
The CONAC report.
No, you cannot move forward. That point has not been clarified. We have a lawyer.
Is that the focus of our discussion?
No, we have a lawyer. We have a lawyer who has to declare.
Killian, if you have to bully.
No, not bully you. I cannot.
Stop inviting me to
cannot bully you. You've talked about something. We have someone who can clarify it.
I think no.
Then after that, you can continue.
Let me throw light on the issue of declaration of assets.
Yes.
The 1996 Constitution, in its Article 66, made it mandatory for officers to declare their assets. But that article is hindered by the fact that there is a provision in that article that says the text of application has to be put in place to determine the manner of declaration of assets. And that text of application was actually promulgated in 2014. But now, what is hindering also the takeoff is that in the text of application itself, there's an article there that states that the head of state shall appoint the commission before whom the assets shall be declared. So up to date, we are waiting for the appointment of members of that commission. So that's what is actually hindering the declaration of assets. We are waiting the head of state to appoint the members of the commission before whom assets have to be declared.
Okay, I will let you continue.
Yes.
Now, so I called you here to come and talk.
No,
you can continue to
no,
talk.
you are known. You always bully me on this platform.
No, Patrick.
That aside, even before Barrister came, I was still on the CONAC issue. Yeah. Before now, I think around 2013 or thereabout, the strategy that CONAC used to tackle in presenting their anti-corruption report, the annual anti-corruption report, automatically changed to something else. The reports are published without names of those accused of embezzlement or those who have come under investigation. They started using initials of public authorities and all of that. The names, details are not published, but details used to be published before. Instead of, because whether we like it or not, naming and shaming is equally part of the effort in fighting corruption. If somebody is publicly declared corrupt, even the way the person moves along in society and all of that, would automatically change. Imagine if you know that this public official is a corrupt individual and CONAC has done investigation, the report has been published, a person named Futures there. I'm sure that person will be able to...
You have people in prison.
No, we're not talking about it. I'm talking about when CONAC reports are done, for example. It is important. In other countries, those who are corrupt individuals, they are flocked in public. Even on national television, it is an approach. But if CONAC starts concealing,
I'll come to you, but there's something there that
CONAC has been concealing the identities of those who are suspected of corruption. They should be named and shamed in public.
When you say suspect, should they go and publish?
No,
okay.
Now, as a suspect, not that you have been found guilty.
No, if you are a suspect, you should not be published.
Okay,
Yeah, no, clarify.
So CONAC was wrong before when they used to publish the entire names.
Let me be clear. Let me be clear. We publish the results of our investigations. As I said it at the beginning, we are not a court. You are innocent until a court finds you guilty.
So what was happening before? Why were the names published before by CONAC?
Are we not advancing?
Advancing towards the wrong direction. That's what I'm saying.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Yes, let me also
There is a minister in this country whose name was published in 2013. He's still in government.
Okay,
can I talk?
Yes. Go ahead, please.
You are giving CONAC too much power. As I said, we are not a court.
We have understood that.
We investigate things, and then we say, this is what we found. Now, the courts have to take the relay button.
Okay.
The courts are sleeping.
Yes.
That's why
the courts are not sleeping.
Yes.
No, from that, from what he has said,
Yes,
like the courts are sleeping.
The courts are not sleeping. I will want to, if you permit, Kilian, I will just give a brief summary of what I retained from the report of CONAC, the latest report published. In that report, which I listened carefully, the president, I realized that in 2022, Cameroon lost 4.6 billion as a result of corruption. 1 year after, 2023, the loss is 114 billion. So within 1 year, the increase has gone up by 109 billion. It does not mean that CONAC is not working. CONAC, they are doing a wonderful job, I think so. But I think the problem is that we all agree that the corruption is on the rise. So when the corruption is on the rise, what do we need to do? We need to look at what is wrong. What needs to be done for CONAC to be more effective? The representative of CONAC has said something that pulls my attention. CONAC is not a court. We should be driving to a point where CONAC should have the status of the court.
Prosecute.
Yes. So I think, and again, when I see, still in the report of CONAC, we see that damages for 2003, damages were awarded by the Special Criminal Court to the tune of 39 billion. And then the SRC could only recover 7 billion from 6 judgments. There were 39 judgments passed. Only 6 judgments could be executed. So out of 39 billion that was awarded by the court, only 7 billion could be recovered. Again, from the statistics of CONAC, we saw that voluntarily people gave back just 1.5 billion. Meanwhile, there's a law that gives room for people to pay back and benefit from a stay of suspension or stay of proceedings. But again, when we'll have time, we'll have to see where that law, why that particular article is not effective.
So to a common person like me, if the investigation show that you embezzled, you pay back, you will not go to prison. That's what you mean?
Yes, that law says that during investigation, before judgment is passed, if you pay back the amount you are charged of, that's where the problem is.
Okay.
If you pay back the full amount you are charged of, you may benefit from stay of proceedings. What is causing this article not to be effective is because by the time they are charging people, the amounts are always exorbitant. And by the time the judgments are passed, the amounts are reduced. And the law says if you allow judgment to be passed, you no longer benefit from this provision.
Thank you for
that's where the problem is.
Thank you for the explanation. Now, we have kept you in the cold for long. But you know, you are a political analyst. Look at this from a political perspective.
Right.
What can we do? Mindset. We're talking also about inappropriate sanctions.
Right.
Yes, how do we get this done in our country?
Sure, thank you. I think also from a political standpoint, the importance of the importance of fighting corruption is because of the fact that it erodes the legitimacy of a government in terms of the democratic procedures that are put in place, which means that if a budget is allocated, the budget actually goes a different direction, which means that it stops government from implementing various projects and therefore keeps the government in debt. That's from a political standpoint as well. But also from another standpoint, in terms of political infrastructure from the government political action, I think we should not confuse some of the different actions that government has put in place or the different institutions that government has put in place. I think what the representative of CONAC was rightfully trying to say is that we have national instruments that fight corruption, such as the Criminal Code and the Penal Code. Now, you have to understand that ANIF, which is also another instrument to fight corruption, you also have the Declaration of Assets, which is a tool. It's a national instrument to fight corruption, just like he rightly said. Now, when you unite all these instruments, you also have to work with the different portfolios, because rightfully say we are fighting corruption in the public sector. That's why CONAC is put in place to be able to fight corruption in the public sector, even though let me land. Even though they collect information, they investigate cases, and then they publish a report, because that's as far as which they can go. Now, that structure is not a judicial structure empowered by the Penal Code, empowered by the Criminal Procedure Code, with magistrates and judges to be able to enact a sanction. Mind you, also, there's a procedure for investigation, which means that when you're charged, you have the contradictory to be able to prove yourself as not guilty, which is why you could be charged with a certain amount, but per proof, those amounts normally reduce. And then also, you also have the national extraordinary. What you have to also remember is that we have the UN Convention, we have the African Union Convention, and that's why in that you have the active whistleblower protection program. Now, in the active whistleblower protection program, it could go to all ministries, all sectors as well, because then if a whistleblower feels that they are not protected, then they will not actually denounce a corruption, because it puts them in jeopardy for their own safety as well. So that program in itself, politically, is a program that has to be actually enacted. So there are different measures, there are national instruments, there are international instruments which have to be put in place, and not also at the level of the different public sector ministries. You have an Inspectorate General of Services, which means that they inspect the internal controls of the services. There's an audit that goes towards that process. So there's a collaboration that has to happen, because mind you, corruption can be an individual, but also there's a public service person that uses power, privilege, and preference and payment to be able to enact a corrupt act. So now we have to be able to go back and not necessarily only blame CONAC, because I think that corruption is systemic. That's why we say it's systemic. When it's systemic,
it should not be justified for being systemic.
No,
but when it is systemic, it means that it's dangerous.
No, when we say it's systemic, it means that the public sector in itself, the different institutions in the public service are facing corruption within the system.
Involved, not facing.
Well,
no, facing.
Well, individuals in the public sector enact corruption. So they are facing that corruption. Now, it doesn't mean that you get rid of all the public servants, but which means that in terms of the Inspectorate General of the Services, you have to collaborate with the investigation and the cases, which CONAC is doing, to be able to work so that the anti-corruption units in each ministry can be able to work together with CONAC, so that at the level of the judiciary, we can now see within the penal code.
Now, the explanation is good, but you are saying can. What we are asking, and I came across in the literature that I was reading on why corruption persists in the country, is that the political will is not active. As a political analyst.
Well, you cannot say that when sometimes people actually joke about the fact that you can have a whole national government in prison. So I think there's the political will, but behind political will, you do have to have the procedures and the institutions that help to fight corruption. Now, maybe the application is what people are complaining about. Just like some people say that maybe CONAC should be more decentralized, not just be in Yaoundé, but be there also at the regional and local councils, where now with the public independent conciliators, where now with the instruments at the Inspectorate General, they can relate that information, because you rightly said something from a bottom to top. But I disagree with you, because if you actually have a bottom to top approach, you will increase corruption.
What did he say? Was it top to bottom or bottom to top?
He said top to bottom. I think from a top to bottom is the opposite approach. Because when you you act from a political standpoint, when you talk about top to bottom, is the political will. But the political will has to follow with the instruments. If I learn, because but the political will has to follow with the
Don't
instrument.
fly for too long.
No one is flying. We are all sitting on this table. But no one is flying. We are all sitting on this table, and I would like you to.
I know that when you be talking, another person talks. You are going to bring word.
Because there's a difference between being emotional. There's a difference between being emotional and there's a difference between defamation of persons. Because mind you, in political propaganda, someone can accuse you wrongly and falsely. But that needs to be proven in a court of law. So from a bottom-to-top approach, I think politically it's the wrong move. You have to do a bottom-to-top approach because we are in a decentralized nation where at the regional level, at the municipal level, within the government institutions, that collaboration effort is made so that way from a bottom-to-top, when the results and the sanctions and the investigations are clear before a court of law, and we have seen that within the penal code and the criminal procedure it has been infringed, you can have a sanction.
Let me just comment on it.
He says he wants to comment on political
the aspect of political will.
Yes, I come
because
to react on
it's
both.
true that I respect his opinion. I respect Mr. Achang's opinion on government, the political will in fighting corruption. But I beg to differ. As an individual, I think government lacks the political will to fight corruption in this country. And it begins with the institutions that government have put in place. One, there are so many institutions doing the same thing. Secondly, an institution like CONAC, that is more representative enough. No, let me just
does ANIF the same work as CONAC?
No, ANIF is for financial crimes.
So it's different.
So what is consumptive?
Corruption is also a financial crime. Let me tell you.
It is, so at the end of the day, the same institutions are doing almost the same thing. No. But that's not even the point. About the aspect of the lack of the political will. Where government lacks the political will is government is selling the good and still keeping the rope. This is CONAC. That has been established as an institution to combat corruption. This procedure of establishing the annual report, taking to the presidency before an approval, CONAC should be working directly with the tribunals. A special criminal court has been set up in this country. If you look at an institution like EFCC in Nigeria, they have almost the powers to prosecute. They take the suspect straight to the courts for trial.
Okay.
Now CONAC takes their report. We all know these people who are the presidency. CONAC report gets to the presidency. It now depends on the political will of the president to decide whether these people who have been accused should go to court or not. Which means that report, the CONAC report of 2016, can still be lying in the drawer at the presidency, and nobody will be prosecuted in this country.
What he said,
that is the lack of the political will.
What he said, we are going to go back to him.
Yeah, we are going to go back to him because he himself even said.
What he said is that CONAC cannot replace the courts. He said that.
That is not what I'm saying. So, am I speaking? Should I explain in Ruku, Kilan?
Yes.
What I'm saying is that CONAC should do their institution. CONAC should do their investigation and drop the report with the courts. What is a speech?
That is heard.
It's a question of the law.
Yes, that one said the law is a bad law. A law that says CONAC should take.
Yes.
What is wrong with
the law? Yes, a law that says CONAC should take the law that says CONAC should take it to the presidency. It is a well-established procedure.
We have understood. If your problem was presidency, we have talked about it now.
No, my problem is not presidency.
Yes, Alfred, please.
President, yeah, he's reacting so strongly that let me first remind him that we do prosecute when it is flagrante delicto. We do prosecute.
For rare cases, of course.
Yeah, but when, let's say, we carry out what I would say traditional investigations, that may take 1, 2, 3, 4 years.
And steps.
Yes. That's where we send it to the President of the Republic.
Okay.
And then I'm reacting to what Barrister said, because he gave figures. Those figures give the wrong idea that corruption is on the rise. The difference, why this different in the figures, is just because we closed 6 investigations, let's say, when you have the lesser figure. But then the higher figure, we closed more than 35 investigations.
Okay.
You see, that's why you have the difference on it. It doesn't mean that corruption is on the rise. Because as I said, one investigation can take years.
Thank you. That clarification is done.
Yes.
Now let us see why it is not working.
Yes, I think that what we should look at, why is it not working? It is, for me, I think the problem lies in the law that created CONAC. That is the law that the decree that fixes the organization and function of CONAC. If I look at that decree, I see some articles there that are contradictory. The first and important of the decree of the article is Article 2 that says that CONAC is an independent public body charged with investigation of corruption, which means CONAC is independent. But when you read Article 3 of that law, it says CONAC may initiate proceedings for any corrupt practices, deeds, and which it is acquainted with. When you read Article 3, it means CONAC can investigate and prosecute. But unfortunately, when you go back to Article 22 of that law, it states in the sub 2, where deeds and facts likely to be considered as corruption or related offences are established, the Commission shall gather evidence and forward the file to the President of the Republic for the appropriate decision. So I think that there is a problem with the law on creation of on the organization of CONAC. You see, you cannot say CONAC is an independent body, and then you say the body, if you find acts of corruption, will forward the report to the presidency. In other states, like Mr. Ma was saying, other institutions, an anti-corruption investigation institution is embedded with judicial police officers, embedded with examining magistrates, which means if there's a case of suspicion, CONAC investigates and hands the file to judicial police officers that are under the control and supervision of the president of CONAC. Those judicial investigation police officers that have the right to even issue warrants of arrest, have the right to remand people in prison custody, they carry out the investigation and they hand it over to examining magistrates that are under the supervision and control of the president of CONAC. And this examining magistrate will now do what we call preliminary inquiries and then can charge those people directly to the court. In that way now, we see the actual independence of CONAC functioning. I'm sorry, that is not the law, but we are saying if we get to that aspect, if we move towards that, we might see CONAC being more effective and people seeing seeing the products of CONAC very, very visible in our societies.
Now, I agree with you that there are things that have to improve on the text setting up CONAC. I do agree with you. We don't have regional branches, which means that if we have a report from Mokolo in the far north, you see it takes time to react, to send people there, and information here.
What is stopping you from having regional branches? Is that not very easy?
The text, of course.
That you must be in Yaoundé.
Yes, that's why we say there are things that can be improved.
So
and you are just working with it. Why don't you write?
No, we work throughout the national territory.
Yes.
You see,
they operate from Yaoundé.
Yes, but
so it's a decentralized structure.
No, I think that if I come back, please. I always refer to the law. Section 2, sub 2 of the law on CONAC says that CONAC has a responsibility to carry out, where necessary, on-the-spot controls of the execution of projects, as well as the evaluation of the conditions of the award of this contract. CONAC can resort to external expertise. So there's no point CONAC can say because they're only in Yaoundé, they cannot carry out on-the-spot control.
Barrister, this is what we do on a daily basis, please.
Okay, let us
24 hours a day, 7 days a week, we are on the field
now
doing that.
Let's look at this. 114 billion.
Yes.
That's as the 2023 CONAC report states. Let us take just 2 billion from the 114.
Yeah.
One classroom, average to build a classroom in Cameroon is 8 million. If you divide 2 billion, we are not talking about 114 that was lost to corruption. You will have 250 classrooms. Take 250 classrooms and multiply by 60 pupils, because that's the number of pupils authorized officially to be in class. We are going to have 15,000 pupils. Just 2 billion.
Who are deprived of access to.
If you multiply the 15,000 by divide 114 by 2, you are at 50 something. Do you, the people of CONAC, do this type of analysis and see how many Cameroonians suffer just because people embezzle? If you did that, will you not do more than what you are doing?
We do that on an everyday basis. If you read the speech of the chairman of CONAC, he says this amount has been embezzled, with this amount, this number of classrooms or this number of hospitals could have been built. We do that on a daily basis. But the issue here is that, let's say, those amounts that we recover, we have to send them back to the public treasury.
And they'll go back the way they came.
And then with the vicious cycle continues. With the risk that if we have a specific account, you see, if we had a specific account where that money, when it's recovered, could be put, and then we could use this to build classrooms, hospitals, and others.
Very good. Have you suggested that in some of your reports that you have written?
As a chief strategist.
You should, as a chief strategist, you should do. Well, we are just.
I'm talking of what I'm doing on a daily basis.
Do you have a report to that effect?
Sorry?
Or just giving the report that this is what happened? We want you to suggest that we should have
a special fund should be created
for.
Yes,
let me tell you. What is visible is the report that we publish.
Okay.
But we have other many things. CONAC is an advisory body to the powers that be. Don't forget that.
Sure. If you are advising and very little is changing, can we say that you are not advising well?
CONAC could be a bad advisor.
You can't. This is not my responsibility. Yeah. You have your children, you have your wife, you have your friends. They can advise you, but you are free to take their advice or not. But you cannot blame those who are advising you.
Yes.
Yeah. Let me just comment on the rough calculation you just made.
Yeah.
You see, I will agree always with Tumfo Barrister Nico Hale when he says that corruption has killed in this country more than HIV, tuberculosis, and malaria combined. Because if you just go by that statistics that you just did, the rough statistics, hypothetical. Imagine the number of roads, imagine the number of accidents that occur on a highway as a result of the bad state of road for projects that have been awarded and people have embezzled the money. Now, just about I think in April or so, I was in Douala, thereabout. And I received a call from my wife. She said, oh, my young man at home was picked up by a police officer doing a raid around the Mendong area. And I made several calls to find out. They said, no, he was not in possession of his ID card. He had gone to play football in the morning around 6 a.m. So they took them to the Mendong police station, from there to a Fulan. And when my wife even took the ID card there, the commissioner there demanded 25,000 in front of a plaque written, no to corruption, bail is free. Like you people move around in ministries and you put it, all the gates, entrance into all the public institutions, they have the CONAC
and you have
posters there. I did not help. I'm saying that a bribe of 25,000 was paid.
Did you report? Did you blow the whistle?
I always do, like I'm doing now publicly, at the Fulan police station. And there were more than 100 young people.
Did you call 1517?
1517?
Did you call 1517?
I will not allow that young man to spend.
Did you call 1517?
CONAC will not intervene on time. They will not come the same day. But that young man should not spend. That young man should not spend 1 night.
The gendarmerie, which I know so well. Let me tell you this. The gendarmerie that I know so well called 1501.
That's what I'm saying. It is not strange thing that the police have won the trophy of shame as the most corrupt sector in this country.
You did not
call the 1501.
What you have said, you have blown the whistle.
Did you call the 1500?
You didn't call any of them.
You didn't call any of them.
By not taking action, you condone it.
But you people are aware. These are the institutions. These are the institutions that CONAC should be able to implement itself in the institution and ensure that
we have 2 minutes left. We have 2 minutes left. The other people,
and the gendarmes have toll-free numbers.
Yes, 1501.
If I call in the afternoon, CONAC come down and intervene.
1501 for the gendarmerie. Did you call those numbers?
But it will take 2 years for CONAC to investigate.
Well, you did not. You have to do that first.
And the young man will jail.
Your way forward.
This is not a CONAC toll-free number.
The way forward. Please.
These are police and gendarmerie
toll-free numbers to act.
These are not CONAC.
Yes, we need your last word.
Well, I would say I was glad to be invited here, but I have the impression that you are shifting the responsibility of fighting corruption to CONAC alone.
Because we respect CONAC.
If we say corruption is on the rise in our country, it means all of us here and those listening to us
are involved.
Have failed. Because it's a common battle to be fought.
Yes.
Don't leave it to CONAC alone, to any other body alone. We should start from our homes. within our families, within our communities, within our associations. That's where you can say CONAC has failed.
Thank you.
Did you do what you were expected to do to bar the way to corruption?
Thank you very much. That will be our last word. I must, and on behalf of Press R and on behalf of CITV, apologize to those Cameroonians who are still having that sense of integrity. That is not everybody who has failed. There are people who are actually fighting corruption. And I bet you, Mr. Etom Alfred, we have Cameroonians who will not give, who will not take, who will not permit if they saw that. Thank you very much.
Yes, I think that
Barrister, you had your last
I think
word
one of the ways that we can fight corruption is to make sure that we don't encourage impunity. So we should have prompt investigations and immediate prosecutions, and then sanctions and publication of sanctions. Once we start doing that, it's going to act as a deterrent effect. So we should fight impunity.
Thank you very much. My own Paul and Chan.
Okay. Unfortunately, I didn't get time to be. I think sometimes we just have to remain pedagogic in the approach as to which we are to talk on this platform, because it's not a ping pong, it's not a personal vendetta issue. Corruption is a habit, it's a systemic problem, so we have to address it in pedagogic ways. He actually aborted the curriculum, which is a pedagogic approach, but there are also national instruments. If you don't know about the national instruments that the government has put in place, please research them. There are also national conventions that Cameroon has signed as well. For extradition, there is a NIF, so it's not a personal problem. If you actually witness an issue of corruption, please call the 1517 number. Also, you are free to be able to go to a NIF. The report is an advisory body, but it collaborates with all the other national institutions that are put in place. So the government is actually working on it. We should not take it as a personal problem in each person. It's a collective effort.
Thank you very much, Paul and Chang. Thank you very much, Alfred Etom, Patrick Moore, and Barrister Fombat Mujem. We just want to, as the last word here, say that corruption, be the change that you want. If you are asked, don't give. If you are given, don't take. Then you can have that authority to condemn others. That's what we had today on Press R, ladies and gentlemen. If you miss out on anything in today's edition of Press R, you can watch a full broadcast of this program on Monday at 2:30 or at 9 p.m. on Wednesday on CRTV News. Thanks for watching.